Are you over 18 and have a valid Social Security number? Then congrats. You meet the two basic requirements to become a real estate agent in Massachusetts. But there's more to the process than that, and a lot more information you should know, which is probably why you're here. I'm Janice Diaz, an instructor at Trail Realty School, and today I'm going to show you how to get your Massachusetts real estate license. In this video, we'll cover the 3 steps to becoming a real estate agent in Massachusetts, with some secret insider tips on how to make the process smoother. The length of the whole process from this very moment to getting that license in your hands, how much it costs to become a Massachusetts real estate agent, and what your first step should be once you get your license. Ready? Let's jump in. Okay, so here are the 3 steps to getting your real estate license in Massachusetts. 1, you take a 40-hour pre-licensing real estate course. 2, you send in your application to take the exam and then buckle down for some serious studying. And 3, you pass the exam and get your license. Now let's talk some details. Step 1, complete a real estate pre-licensing course. The Massachusetts Board of Registration of Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons, also simply just referred to as the board, is in charge of real estate licensing. They want you to be prepared for the exam and for actually being an agent. So they've made it a requirement to take a real estate course before you can move any further in the process. You can choose whether to take your pre-licensing education in person or online, depending on what suits you. You just want to make sure that the school you choose is authorized by the board. The board has a list of schools you can choose from, and the school you pick should provide you with their license information so you can double check that it's authorized. The state requires you to take 40 hours of classes before you can get a certificate of completion. A minimum of 21 of those hours need to be completed with a licensed instructor present who can teach you and answer your questions right away. The remaining 19 hours can be taken on your own schedule, or you could take all 40 hours live. At Trail Realty School, we have an innovative and easy tracking system built into our class software that automatically tracks your class time and categorizes it. So you'll always know exactly where you stand and how much time you have left. Plus, if you're on a tight schedule, you can choose from day, night, and weekend classes with live instructors. Our instructors also have office hours, so you can drop in and get clarity wherever you may need it. Soon after you complete your education, you should get a certificate of completion from your school. You'll also receive a copy of a Candidate Information Bulletin, or CIB. The CIB contains all the forms and information you'll need to apply to take your exam. You will need to use the copy of the CIB provided by your school to apply for your exam. And just like that, you're ready for step 2. Step 2 is to send in your exam application and enter study mode. At this point, you have your CIB and your certificate of completion. What do you do next? We recommend filling out and sending in your exam application right away. But that doesn't mean you're ready to take the exam right away. You still will need to study. But it can take a while for your exam application to get processed by the testing company after you've sent it in. And it doesn't hurt to get that process rolling. Even after you're approved, you don't have to schedule your exam date until you're ready to take the exam. So you're better off sending in your application as soon as possible so you don't have to wait for approval after. Everything you need to know about the application will be in the CIB you get from your school. So let's just go over a few things that are important to know beforehand. First, where do you send your application? The board has contracted a testing company called PSI Exams to run the exam. PSI handles everything real estate exam related in Massachusetts. So when you finish filling out your application, you'll send it either by mail or email to PSI. As part of your application, you'll need 3 references to sign a candidate endorsement form. That basically just means you need 3 references who think you're a decent human being to sign a form saying that they do in fact think that you're a decent human being. Another form you have to fill out is a criminal offender record information acknowledgement form, also known as a CORI form. Keep in mind, you have to get that form notarized, which means you have to sign it at a notary service in order to verify your identity and make it official. Signing the CORI form gives the board permission to run a background check on you. Since real estate agents are trusted with helping people make what's often the biggest financial transaction of their lives, the board wants to make sure you're trustworthy before giving you a license. But that doesn't mean that a less than perfect background will disqualify you. The application gives you opportunities to provide explanations and extra information for the board to consider. So the most important thing with that section of the application is just to be honest. If you're concerned about this part in the process, the board's qualifications for good moral character are available online. So that's the gist of the application. Now let's talk about studying. The 40-hour course will provide you with all the information you need to pass the exam, but you won't know everything from the 40-hour course by heart when you finish. Think of it like when you took your driver's license exam. You took a course to teach you the rules of the road, but you still had to study to pass the exam. That's the same idea here. You'll need to factor in some extra study time to prepare yourself for the exam. To get yourself ready to take the exam, you can review your class materials, create flashcards, or even study with your classmates you may have met at school. If you took your pre-licensing course at Trail Realty School, you'll also have access to a streamlined study guide in both audiobook and written format, as well as a variety of practice tests and exam cram questions that'll test your knowledge and prepare you for the actual exam. And if you passed enough of our practice tests, you can unlock a pass or don't pay guarantee, where you'll get your money back if you fail the exam. Check out the terms on our site. Now, how much you choose to study is ultimately up to you, but the exam questions can be challenging. So you want to make sure you put in the time and effort to really prepare yourself well before you move on to the next step. Step 3, take the exam. Once your exam application has been approved by PSI, you can schedule a date and time to take your exam. The fastest and most convenient way to do this is to register online through PSN's website. Just like with the education portion, you can choose whether to take the exam in person or online. If you opt for in person, you'll take the exam at one of PSI's testing centers. In either case, you have 4 hours to complete the exam, which includes 120 graded multiple choice questions. You might also notice your exam may have a few additional questions. This is because PSI sometimes adds experimental questions to the exam that they're trying out for future use. Don't worry though. The experimental questions don't count towards your score. Only 120 questions count towards your score. The exam is divided into 2 portions, general and state. The general portion has 80 questions that test you on real estate laws and practices that apply across the United States. The state portion is specific to Massachusetts and only has 40 questions. You need to get at least 70% of answers correct on each portion in order to pass the exam. But if you pass one portion and fail the other, you'll only need to retake the failed portion instead of retaking the entire exam. When you finish the exam, you'll find out right away whether you've passed. And if you didn't, don't stress too much. PSI gives you a diagnostic report that helps you understand your weaknesses, and you can take the exam as many times as it takes to pass. You'll just need to rebook the exam. When you do pass, you'll get your license instantly. Or in the case that you took the test online, as soon as you go to pick it up in person at one of PSI's licensing sites. At that point, you'll officially be what's known as a real estate salesperson. Salesperson is the basic type of real estate license in Massachusetts. There's also something called a broker's license, which you can choose to pursue after you've got some experience as a salesperson. Being a broker gives you some added benefits, like being able to run your own brokerage. But the moment you get your salesperson's license, you're officially licensed to help people buy, sell, or rent property. So how long does the whole process of getting your salesperson's license take? Beyond the time it takes to get your application approved before you can take the exam, the length of the entire process is largely up to you. But let's look at some ranges. As we talked about already, your education needs a total of 40 hours. Different schools offer classes at different times. So how long it takes you to complete those 40 hours depends on when you're able to catch those classes. Since live classes run so frequently at Freedom Trail, you could technically complete your education in about a week if you took all the classes offered as soon as they're available. So if you're in a real rush to get your license, you can see an estimate of when you could be done with your classes if you started today by checking out our site. But realistically, you probably won't be able to take every class every time it's offered. So if you have a busy schedule or you want to take things at a more relaxed pace, Freedom Trail gives you plenty of time to complete your education from when you sign up. You can visit our class plans page to check out the different timeframes that are available. That's the education piece. Once you're done with the course and you've sent in your application to PSI, you'll also need to factor in study time prior to taking the exam. This again can vary based on how much time you're able to dedicate to studying each week. We recommend you spend at least 20 to 40 hours studying for the exam. How you spread that out is up to you. So if you're able to invest a lot of time right away, you could be ready to take the exam after a week of studying. Or you could take things more slowly. Just don't take it too slowly. The education certificate expires 2 years after it's issued, and the board will require you to retake the course if you haven't passed the exam by then. So it's best to consider that a hard deadline and not wait until the last minute. That all means the time range it can take for you to get your license is pretty big. You could get your license in a couple of months, or you could work on it for up to 2 years, plus whatever time it takes for you to do the course. Now, how much will the process cost you? Let's do the math. In 2024, the real estate course on average costs between $250 and $600, depending on the school and course package you choose. Freedom Trail has several different plans you can choose from that fit within this pricing guideline. Once you're done with the course, you'll pay $85 when applying for the exam with PSI. $31 is the application processing fee, and $54 is the cost of actually taking the exam. That means if you have to retake the exam, it'll only cost $54. And when you pass the exam, the fee for the license itself will be a maximum of $150. The actual cost will vary because it's prorated according to when your license will need to be renewed, which depends on when your birthday is. But budget $162 for the license fee and treat yourself if it happens to be less. Also, be ready to pay the licensing fee immediately after you pass the exam. So how much is that all added together? You can expect to pay on average anywhere between $440 and $835 for the full process. What do you do once you get your license? Once you get your license, you're officially a real estate agent. But hold on. Before you can start helping people buy, sell, and rent properties, you'll first need to find a real estate brokerage to join. What are real estate brokerages? They're the companies that real estate agents work for. While you are self-employed as a licensed salesperson, it's mandatory that you work under the guidance and supervision of a state licensed real estate broker. And for new agents especially, choosing the right brokerage could be the difference between a smooth career launch or a turbulent takeoff. So if you want to know how to choose the right brokerage and start using that brand new license, check out our advice on how to set yourself up for an epic first year of being an agent.